What is going on, UFC card lovers? Welcome back here to another episode of UFC Card Talk. And this week's episode, it is part 2 of my UFC card community conversation with Joe from Joe's Card Stash. In this second part of the video, we start off talking about thoughts on 2024 with Topps taking over the UFC license through Fanatics, what we are looking forward to with that happening. We also then go on to find out what card Joe would buy if I was to gift him $1,000 to spend on UFC cards. We then go into speculate a little bit. I asked Joe's opinion on which 5 fighters he thinks will be holding the most value in UFC card market in 10 years time. And then we finish it off the conversation just talking about Joe's collection in general, his sort of new thoughts on the way that he likes to collect, and also other UFC content card creators for you guys to look out for. Once again, thanks to Joe. Let's get back into this part 2 of this conversation. Looking forward a little bit. I know we've basically just decided that we don't know what to expect next year, but have you got a bit of a wish list? Maybe just things you would like to see with Topps moving forward when they have the UFC license, particular sets, anything you would like to particularly see within some inserts, improvements you would like to see? Maybe just talk a little bit about what you're hoping to see from UFC moving forward in 2024.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I watch you and Zach talk about this, and when I watch you guys talk, I end up just agreeing with everything you said. So I don't want to repeat everything that you said because most of what you guys said already. And if people haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. Number one, God, I have a list. Hold on one sec. And this one I think is a dream. You kind of touched on a little bit. Is I would like them to scale things back a little bit. I would like them to make less sets, less parallels, just tone things back a bit for UFC, because I don't think UFC has the market to be making as much as Panini did. I don't think that Topps going to do that. You already talked about it. They've seen what they can sell, and they know, it's advantageous for them to make a lot if they can sell it in Target and all these different places. And to do that, they have to make a lot of parallels, like you said. But one thing I've noticed that Fanatics has started doing, because they've just started basically making the baseball product. They bought it a year ago, but the last couple of products have been very Fanatics based. And one thing I've noticed they print like crazy, but they also put some insane grail cards in there, like some things that only Fanatics could do. Like they had a Shohei Ohtani dual auto with Babe Ruth. Like, how the hell did you even get that? But they put that, and there's only like 1 or 2 of them, but people are like, okay, I will spend the money at this lottery ticket to try to get that card, even though most of the singles are probably not going to be worth much because they're way overprinted. But I think that's going to be what they're going to do, is they're going to keep printing a ton of stuff, but they're going to put some crazy chase cards in there that like we haven't even thought of. So I'm fine with that. I mean, we're getting overprinting anyway. At least there's some cool shit that they can do. And I guess that's the other thing that I'm really hoping from Topps and Fanatics. They have a ton of money and a ton of pull. I hope they creatively make something that I haven't thought of. Topps was really good at thinking outside the box before. I felt Panini was pretty derivative. In a lot of ways, Panini just ripped off old Topps stuff quite a bit. So, hopefully Topps really thinks outside of the box, and they use that Fanatics pull to, who knows what, some weird relic I'd never thought of John Jones, or something really, really cool that they've acquired that they can put in these boxes that make everyone want to chase them. So I would like that. And then lastly is photography, which is obviously a huge part of why I collect cards in my life. I'm a photographer, and Topps was always better with photography. They used it better, and I hope they just throw money into photography. We don't see repeat photos. Like you guys said, we don't see this on every card, like, come on, it's one of the most exciting action sports in the world, and why are we just having some guy being held, his arm held up by Herb Dean? Let's get these crazy knockouts. What I think would be really cool, and I wish all companies did more, is these fighters have such great personalities, and I don't feel like the cards really show that much. The one that I always think of is the Gaethje photo where he's doing the backflip in 2019 Topps Chrome. Like, all these guys have all these different things that they do, and it's like, use those photos. I don't need to see, again, this, like, use something that's very specific to the fighter. And again, I'm rambling, but I hope Topps brings smart people into the room that know the UFC, that know, how to make a good card. And I guess that would be the most important thing, is like bring in people that truly care about this. Because it did feel like at the end, Panini, like, especially with like the downtowns, I'm like, do these people even watch UFC fights? Like, what are they doing? So I hope they bring in people that really give a shit and care about this stuff.
Yeah, we can only hope so. And I mean, that's what their job is. But yeah, we've seen in past times that that hasn't happened. And as you said, the ball's been dropped several times in the past. But hopefully, as you said, with the innovation of Fanatics and what they're planning to do, they're obviously not buying the Topps license and printing all these licensed sports to lose money. So although, as you said, and as I've got at too, they're probably going to continue to overprint, fill parallels, fill boxes, because they don't care too much about the secondary prices, or if at all. They just care about obviously getting the boxes to shelves and then sold, because then they've made their money. But hopefully they can sort of, as you said, be innovative of what sort of products they have and what sort of different sort of cards and parallels they can come up with that. And as you said, hopefully can reflect a little bit more individually of the fighter and their personalities, more so than just the standard stock photo of, as you said, arms raised or throwing, a jab or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see. And I would be surprised if I would lean towards UFC products. I don't think there'll be too many next year. I think obviously we've got Topps Chrome. We've seen the leaked photos of Topps Chrome. I would be surprised if there was any more than two or three sets going next year, because I think Fanatics, Tops, they'll want to sort of gauge the market, as you said. They'll want to sort of see what the demand is maybe for UFC before they start putting thing on printers and having sort of boxes just sit on shelves for months and months. So
That's what Panini did. If you look at 2021, they were kind of testing the market. So I think, as they do that, I think that's a good prediction. They'll probably start slow.
yeah, obviously start with a prestigious product in Topps Chrome and then just see how things go from there, and you know fill the shelves after that, depending on how sales goes. I want to get into now just a little bit of lighter questions, maybe, and something that I like to ask the majority of my guests. But starting off with a more fun one, if I was to, after this video, because you're so popular on YouTube and the algorithm of YouTube just loves you, Joe, and my channel just, I get 1,000 subscribers, I get monetized. In the next week I make $1,000, and I say, you know what, this is all thanks to my friend Joe and the video we did together. So I want to gift you $1,000 for you to spend on UFC cards, Joe, right now. What are you buying, mate? Whatever you want to, however you want to divvy it out.
So I took this question very literally. When you told me about it, I was like, I went on eBay and I literally looked at my saved searches. I'm like most people, I have all these Grail cards on my eBay saved searches, and they pop up all the time of things I can't afford. But I went through it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna find one card for $1,000 that I would be super happy to buy. And one popped up almost immediately, and it's funny because it's a Panini card and it's immaculate. But it's the 2022 immaculate Habib card where he's choking out Connor. It's a immaculate moments. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's such a
Yeah, I've seen
dope
it.
card.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll put it up on the screen for everyone to see right now.
That'd be perfect. Yeah. So it. The one thing I don't like about Immaculate is, for the most part, they don't use action shots, which is ridiculous because they're beautifully on card autos, and it's just like a cutout of somebody on white. But this one, they actually used an iconic photo, one of the most iconic photos I think in UFC history, and that. I was always a Habib fan. I don't make any secret about it. I can't stand Conor McGregor. I feel like he's just a douchebag asshole. I mean, I get the excitement that he brought to the sport at the time, and I do appreciate what he did. But at this point in his career, I just think he's awful. And I think once he does get in the cage, he's going to get completely torn apart. But he always reminded me of like a school bully. And that photo of Habib just choking him out just reminded me of somebody just like taking on the school bully and just shutting him up, and just, I always loved that photo. And the fact that they had that with, Habib on card auto, I've always wanted one, and I keep looking at them, but they're just, I'm like you. Like I don't spend much. Like most time, I think the most expensive single I've ever bought is $150. I've ripped and pulled multiple cards, probably worth $300 to $400. In every case, I've sold that card almost immediately and taken that money and bought smaller cards because it's scary for me to ever buy something that expensive. But I would love to buy that card. And yeah, I found it on eBay for $1,000 in a BGS slab, but I'd have to crack that because I don't like BGS slabs. But
Have to get in one of those PSA slabs to match your collection. Yeah,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
you're right. That is such a big moment. And I think it's safe to say, maybe it's not safe to say, who am I? But I think like that was almost the biggest moment of Habib's career, really, because I think if you take that kind of fight and the hype about that fight and everything leading up to the fight, and then obviously how the fight happened and how Habib dominated Conor in that fight for 3 of the 4 rounds, that really was, I think, the biggest moment of Habib's career. And if you
Yeah.
take that fight out of the equation, I don't know if Habib is as popular as what he is today. So I think that was really that's a would be really cool to have that card, as you said, not only a cool photo and as you said, tying it to your own sort of personal feelings about Conor, and then obviously, you obviously like Khabib as well. But yeah, I'm actually surprised. Is that card numbered to what's that numbered with Immaculate? Do you know? Do they have like a
Um,
do they have like a
that's
base version of 99 and they do a gold version as well, or
There, I have it saved here because I looked at it. Oh, it's numbered to 49. I think
okay.
it's just, I don't, there might have been a shorter printed version of it, but I wouldn't care. Whatever I could get my hands on. And just to clarify, it would have been a tops card. It would have been any other, I have a million cards that I want in that price range. That was just one that was available right now that I could buy it now. But I would just as easily, want a John Jones rookie or Amanda Nunez rookie or some other tops, very cool parallel from Finest or something like that. But that was just one that popped up immediately. And I was like, I'll take that. So that's what I bought with your $1,000. I'd probably spend it very quickly and be very happy that I had
That's all right. It sounds like it's $1,000 well spent, so I'm happy to
it.
give it to you, mate. We'll see.
Thanks.
All right, yeah. Obviously, we spoke a little bit about speculation. We all know I like to speculate. I think it's really fun, regardless of what the viewers think, but I just think it's good fun. And if I was a viewer, I would find this very interesting. I would like to ask you, Joe, we're going to fast forward 10, 15 years, depending on the timeline, wherever you want to go to, which 5 fighters, whether they're fighting now or they're just starting now, or maybe they're even a past legend, which 5 fighters do you think are having the most demand and the most value in 2034, let's say?
Nice. Again, this was another one that I thought a lot about. It's really hard with the UFC. I'm sure, you've been watching for a while. This is a sport where, you can be on top of the world and then 3 fights later, everybody hates you, not hates you, but just doesn't give it. I mean, Tony Ferguson, like, so, it's hard to pick people that are fighting now for this. It's much easier to pick people that are, certified greatest of all time. So I kind of did half and half. So the three goats I picked were John Jones, Amanda Nunez, and I picked Habib again. I just like Habib. You could throw a lot of other people in there, but GSP is another one that comes to mind. But those are the three I picked for my legends. I know John Jones is still fighting, but those are guys that I think you're going to be fine no matter what. They're legends of the sport. And then the other two, I was thinking of somebody that's fighting now. That's where it gets really difficult. I mean, you could kind of go with people that have been champs for a while. I was thinking maybe Izzy or Volkanovski, two champs. I mean, I love both those guys, but Volk getting knocked out by Islam, I think, kind of made it so he can't get to that higher level. He's maybe he defends for a couple more years and he is there, but I don't know what he can do to really become a great after that. And same thing with Izzy losing to Strickland. I think that was a tough part of his career. I think he probably comes back and maybe becomes champ again, but even still, I don't know. That was just a tough loss. So then I just started looking at some of the young guys who we just have no idea what they're going to do. And I'm a huge Shavkat fan, so I'm throwing Shavkat in there. You know, he's just going to go undefeated, never get beat, and retire and move to back to Kazakhstan and just eat horse. And then I was going to throw in one more female fighter because there's another thing I love about UFC. I haven't talked about it much, but I really appreciate that in the UFC, female fighters and female athletes are held up as high as they are. You know, you look at the WNBA or other sports, there's not many sports where female fighters are as revered as they are in the UFC. And, you know, I love Amanda Nunes. And someone else I think that has a chance to be as great as her, that you know, this is a really, like, who knows, but Tatiana Suarez. I've really gotten into Tatiana Suarez lately. I think if she can stay healthy, she might have a chance to be an all-time great. I'm a little influenced by MMA on Point. They're huge Tatiana Suarez fans, but so I'm putting her on that list. So that's my top five: John Jones, Amanda Nunes, Khabib, Shavkat, and Tatiana Suarez.
That's the Suarez, the Tatiana Suarez was probably a very surprising pick for me. I never in 1,000 years would have had her on the list. If Yeah, I think as you said, but it is very cool that, like, I think comparatively, yes, UFC female fighters, they get a lot of love comparing to some of the other sports with the other female athletes. So that is very fun to see, and there's definitely some exciting female fighters coming up as well. Yeah, it's a very tough question. As you said, GSP I think would be an automatic one for me as well. And then really, yeah, it's I mean, I probably would have to put Connor up there as well. And then while we're talking about fighters who you don't like, probably Tito. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't have Tito up there. But yeah, no, it's it's a yeah, it definitely it's a tough list to make. And as you said, like UFC is, you could be, the hottest thing ever, and then within one or two fights, you just like your career's, on a knife point. So it's a tough gig for those fighters, and I don't envy them whatsoever. But it's definitely, as I said, one of those fun things to think about and speak about. So yeah, it was cool to get your list, Joe. Thanks for that. Do
I
you?
will say, and this is real quick, that is why I've kind of leaned away from newer fighters, is because I've been, watching very, I've watched UFC for 10 odd years now, but really, really concentrating the last few years. And I just realized, especially these people that I see, I've sold to them, I've watched them, I've seen people spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Bo Nichols and, God, who, I'm trying to think of who was in the 2022 class. I felt like there was all these people in the 2022 class
Yeah,
that
like
everyone was
Patty,
so
I would
excited
say,
about. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And you have to understand, like, two or three fights, these cards that you just spent hundreds of dollars on could be worthless. I mean, and Bo Nickel is a perfect example. Like, he could get just deadline, like just laid out in his next two fights. And all these people that have spent thousands on him, it's I get it, it's a gamble and it's prospecting, but there's very few fighters that I feel that confident about. I mean, it's really, really small. And even Shavkat, like, I just did that because I didn't want to pick GSP and Mighty Mouse because that seems like a pretty boring list, But I would much rather pick those guys than try to chance on Shavkat, who I think is an amazing fighter. But you just have no idea. It's the fight game. Cheeto always says it, which makes me laugh. He's like, it's a fist fight. Like, it's that, like, there's anything can happen in a fist fight. The guys that got out undefeated, like Khabib, that's incredible, because at any point he could have taken some hit to the back of his neck and just been laid out. It's a fist fight.
yeah, it's definitely, yeah, as you said, it's a big gamble, and obviously it's healthy to have like these prospects that people want to put big dollars behind. I think that's part of, the sports card hobby in general, and but that's what makes it tough in the UFC, because these guys aren't out there every week trying to make good on what their bad last performance was. Because if you get knocked out, you're having a good 6 months off, and that's what people remember about. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's sure tough, but as I said, it's fun to speculate on. If you want to talk a little bit now about, as you said, your collection in general, you mentioned it a little bit before, you sort of not changing the way you collect, but maybe the things that you collect, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Really, it's funny because I showed some of the cards that I acquired this year in the video that I just posted, and it made me realize like hardcore, UFC collectors are probably looking at my collection going, what is this guy doing? Like he's this big YouTube UFC card guy, and everything he's collecting is like base rookies that are worth like $25, because again, I don't like spending tons of money on things that I find uncertain. And, the really big cards I would want, like, 2012 Bloodline Habib is like as much as a car. I'm not doing that. This is supposed to be fun. I'm not going to put my my family's livelihood in danger. So, I tend to just buy most of my PC cards. I was thinking about it recently. I don't think I have any PC cards that are worth more than $200. Like everything's around 150, 100. I try to get as rare as possible, but more than anything, I just want, especially if it's older rookies, I'll take a Charles Oliveira base rookie. There's not many of them. They're very, rare compared to like a lot of the Panini cards. So I don't need it to be gold or anything like that. And I'm happy if it's $50 to $100. And it's a card that means something to me because he's a fighter I loved watching. And I just, it's more and more about I want things that are going to mean something to me in 10 years, no matter what happens with this whole deal. So that's really where my collecting has gone. But it does mean that, yeah, especially because like, my goal is to not lose money doing this, to actually try to like break even. And to do that, I can't buy very expensive cards. The cards I do have to buy, like I'm like you, like I love silvers. Like give me a silver all day. It doesn't have to be numbered. Just give me a silver, a refractor, just something a little shinier than the base. I'm happy with that, and if it's a good photo and a nicely designed card, I'm cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we go through these stages during like our hobby experiences where we sort of change our goals, change our directions in what we're collecting and how we want to collect. And yeah, as you said, like it's meant to be fun. So people who are putting big dollars into stuff that they don't even particularly like, they're just, chasing the value and in hopes that it works out in the future. And that's one thing I like to sort of echo every single chance I get. I mean, I buy cards that they're not necessarily PC cards, they're cards like a perfect example was I picked up midway through the year, actually before his loss, was the 2019, which is the first year for Israel Adesanya, Topps Chrome Blue Wave in the SGC 10. Like it's a beautiful looking card. But that was a card that I didn't necessarily have to have for my PC, but I just thought it's a really nice looking card. I think it's really cool. And it's also a card that I think could increase in value over time. If it doesn't, I'm still happy to own that card because I personally think it's cool. So I think that's really like the biggest thing that I've sort of tried to keep to throughout this whole time is whether it's for the PC, whether it's a card that I'm looking to get longer term value of, it's still going to be a card, whether it's the design, whether it's the fighter, whether it's the fighter and the design, it's got to be something that I truly can still appreciate because as you were sort of mentioning, like it's got to be about what you like and it's got to be fun and it's not any of those things if you're spending more than what you should be on cards that you don't even really care about at the end of the day. So yeah, it definitely sounds like you're on the right track to me.
Thanks, man.
Joe, we have talked about so much. I'm once again very, very thankful to have someone like you on my channel just to sort of have this conversation with. And it's, I mention this every time, it's my favorite sort of video to make. It's very special for me to sort of get to talk about these cards that, as you pointed out before, not that many people outside of this community would have an idea of what we're talking about. But yeah, it's very much appreciated on my end. I'm so happy to have you on and finally get to talk with you face to face after all this time. But just to finish it off, as I like to ask all my guests, I like to think that there is somebody new who has made it all the way into this video. And if you have, you can hit that subscribe button. And then, obviously, I'm sure you're all subscribed to Joe's channel, but if you haven't already, be sure to jump over there as well because his videos are much better than this that I'm putting out there. But if they are new to the UFC card community, what is one piece of advice you would give to them?
That's a good question. I guess I'm trying to think of what I wish I knew early on. It would probably be just do a lot of research, kind of what you said already, like buy what you like, because you're never going to be disappointed as long as you're buying something you really like, fighters you like, cards you like. Even if it's not worth much, it's still, no matter what, it's something you enjoy. And if you do want to do this, if you're more interested in the investment side of things and stuff like that, just do a lot of research. Honestly, there's a lot more resources now than there were when I started. Obviously, when I started, it was really just Mace Collectibles that had a YouTube channel. There weren't many others. I think Matt, the Golden Octagon, and I started right around the exact same time. And you came on pretty shortly after, maybe like a year after or something like that. But now there's, maybe 10 content creators, and you can go back in their catalogs and really learn about a whole bunch of stuff. We all talk about different things, all the different sets, like what we talked about today, buying young fighters and the risk of that, and what it could mean. As much as I talk shit about young fighters and how, I'm worried they could not be worth anything in a while, that's how I made all my money this year, was like young fighters. So I get it. It's enjoyable. I love, and it again, it's not specific to UFC. People prospect in baseball, you know, basketball. When I first got in it, it was, Luka Doncic. People were, buying his cards like he was already LeBron James. And I think over the last couple of years, it's taken people to understand these guys are human. You have no idea. He'll probably be great. He's going to be great, but he may not be everything that we're baking into this stuff. So, it is fun to prospect, but understand that, you never know. One turned ankle, one thrown out shoulder, and all the money you've invested is gone. So again, try to do it responsibly and do what you love, and do a lot of research, because there are resources now. Go to UFC Card Talk. I'm going to do a plug for all the guys I like real quick. UFC
Do it.
Card Talk, Box Alarm Trading, the Golden Octagon. Just look these up on YouTube. UFC Card Fiend, new guy, he's awesome. My friend Luke at MMA Love, he's the most pure collector you'll ever meet in the world, and he is very, very smart about UFC fighting and history. He's great to watch. Who else am I missing? Mace Collectibles. I feel like he's kind of stopped again. Like he keeps like making a bunch of videos and then stops. But he's like the godfather. He was doing this before all of us. So look at all those guys' videos, look at their catalog, go back, learn about the history of the cards, and it's been great. Like I've had such a good time. Even I mentioned the last couple of years, I lost $3,000 collecting UFC cards over the last couple of years, but for me, it's like, I have friends that golf, I have friends that do all these different hobbies, and they spend just as much money, and I had just as much enjoyment doing it the way I did it. So I don't get mad at myself for that. And I was learning, and like I said, this year I didn't lose all that money, and it does have, the cool thing about memorabilia is there is a market for it, so you can find a way to support it within itself, so you don't spend any money or little money if you're smart about it. So that's a really cool thing about it. That's it. I have no idea what the question started as.
No, well, I think you hit the nail on the head with the advice. It started off with, buy what you like, do your research, and just sort of, like educate yourself, because, and I think maybe this is a bit of the way. I think everyone has to do this on their own. Everyone takes their own hobby journey, especially at the start, and you always come back to where you should be by the end of it. But and even that then changes, 6 months, a year down the line. But yeah, I think you're meant to make some of those mistakes at the start, and then hopefully, as I said, like that was inspiration as watching your channel in the beginning, being entertained by your channel, and then also I was watching not the trivia. I know Macy he was doing the trivias as well, not just recently, but also mid 2022, early 2022, and then through actually Macy, he did like a bit of a collect. I think he did like a collectors, UFC collectors segment or something, and he actually had Matt on one of his episodes, Matt from the Golden Octagon, and Matt was going through his binders and showing his prism cards. So that was how I first got onto Matt as well. So that's where it all comes full circle. And just to add two more channels, obviously, I really enjoy Cloudsy's videos, Cloudsy
Oh yeah.
420. he has some of the best intros before he does his mail days, and just like the way that he breaks down the stuff is just absolutely like entertainment from start to finish. And then you mentioned Luke MMA. Is it Luke MMA Love?
Hmm.
I watched the video only just recently where he had the 2018 Topps Chrome hobby box spray, and as you said, like straight away, like that is a guy who knows his stuff when it comes to UFC cards. So I was, yeah, super happy to get put onto his channel. And then also too, UFC Card Fiend put me on to, I think it's Buffoon. Is it
Oh
Buffooniverse?
yeah.
Or is it Buffooniverse, right? It's with the
Yeah.
two brothers. They do really
Hmm.
good fun videos as well. They've done like vlog style videos of them the uh at the Burbank show, at the National show, and then they've got other fun videos as well. So they're another content creator, because it's all just, as I said, it's all full circle, and there's not enough of the content out there. Obviously, it is growing week by week, which is fun to see, but I think there's always room for more. So,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
yeah, definitely great tips that you've given. As I said, I like to think that there's someone can take a little bit of something, especially the new people who are coming in. So, thanks so much for this, Joe. As I said, like the way I best describe this is full circle. I started off watching you, loved your videos. It inspired me to start content as well, sort of create content that I wanted to see as someone who loved these cards. And yeah, as I said, it's not lost on me just how great it is to have someone like you come onto my channel and spend your time to talk about these cards. Is there anything you'd like to leave off? You want to let people know who, I mean, if you're living under a rock and this is the first UFC card video you've seen, I slightly feel sorry for you, but glad you're here. But let those people know who may not know how they can best get a hold of you, and anything else you want to finish the video off with.
Sure. Yeah, it's Joe's Card Stash on YouTube. Instagram is Joe's underscore card underscore stash. Hit me up. That's again the great thing about this hobby is we all talk to each other. Anybody wants to just show me cards they like and stuff like that. Well, it's super fun. It's usually my last hour of the evening is just sitting on my phone and just randomly talking to people who have hit me up about stuff. And I'm trying to think what else. Not really. I mean, I'm gonna have one thing I want to do this year on my channel. There's a couple things. One of them is I want to do a card show in a good way. Like I know you've mentioned it that you really like those videos because you don't get to go to them. They're very hard to produce. I mean, I'm a very controlled person. Like I like being in the studio where I can control my cameras and my lighting and all that stuff. You get to those card shows, it's just pandemonium. They're jam packed. The guys you want to interview, all of a sudden someone comes up to them and asks them they want to buy, a $900 card. They're gonna blow you
Yeah.
off and go do that deal. So it's not easy to do. Not to mention it's very hard to film the cards in the glass cases because it reflects the lights from the ceiling. There's a million things, but I really want to. The next Burbank Card Show, which is in February, I'm going to go one day just to buy. I just want to go and relax and talk. And because that's the other thing is I always feel like I'm rushed because I want to look at the cards, but I also have to make a video. So I'm going to do one day where I just go by myself. UFC Card Father is going to be there. I've met a few other guys at those things that just do UFC cards. So I'm going to meet with all of them, hang out, try to do some deals. And then the next day I'm going to go and I'm actually going to bring my son. He's going to be my cameraman. So we're going to actually try to do that. Like have an extra person so I can do interviews and talk to people because it's hard to do well, but I really want to do it because there are so many people across the world that can't go to things like that, and I'm so lucky. It's both the Burbank card shows are there's two locations and they're both within an hour from me, and it's they're a gigantic show. It's like the national. And again, they're UFC cards aren't the biggest thing there, but they're there, and there's guys that are selling things that you never get to see. So it's really neat to do that. And it's like this, this one great thing about you doing these interviews is you get to see people talk that we talk through Instagram and DMs all the time, but it's so nice to put a face and like actually talk to someone in person. I think the first time I went to Burbank, I talked to a couple guys and I was like, man, I feel like I know those guys, but I don't really know those guys. And it's really cool. So, it would almost be amazing if at some point we could like have a UFC card specific show where we all meet somewhere and all like get together. But I mean, that's pretty hard. I mean, you're in Sweden. We got people all over the place. I have people, it's funny because people who don't know that I do this, they'll randomly find, they're like, you have a YouTube channel? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dude, there's people following me in Germany and like all these different countries,
Mm,
which is just incredible. It's
yeah.
the fact, what's God, oh my God, I'm terrible. I can't remember his name, but he's in the Philippines, and you could
Oh,
tell he's like,
Cedric.
yeah, Cedric in the
Yeah,
Philippines. And it's
third
like,
shout out third world card collector.
exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like somebody in the Philippines is like watching me and like we're talking. It's incredible. And it's been the biggest surprise. I'm sure you're like this as well. The community aspect of this, I had no idea. I was just doing it because I don't know. I really got into UFC cards, and it seemed like a cool little area that not that many people were making stuff. And I had some thoughts about things, and that, I guess, okay. The one thing I do want to say to everyone, because I think it led to you making your channel and other people, is it's not hard to make these YouTube videos. Make content. It's really easy. I think, I get a little frustrated with people that buy into breaks and stuff like that. I'm like, buy a box yourself and film a video. I would rather watch that than go on Whatnot and watch you. I get the social aspect to that, but I just enjoy watching people make their own content and talk about this stuff. So I support everybody, not support, I encourage everybody out there to, get a camera. I mean, iPhones do great. Get a decent microphone, go to Best Buy. I don't think it costs that much, and start making YouTube videos and talk about UFC cards. There's my advice.
Yeah. No, all good stuff. I haven't, who knows? I don't know how long we're into this video, Joe. It could be just you and me sitting here. But I have had aspirations, actually. I've thought about this previously. It would be really, really cool. And I don't know how we probably could make it work. We just do a Zoom meeting or something. But I think like every time around National, we get
Mm-hmm.
all of us UFC card content creator guys together, however many we can pack. I don't know if we'd be, as I said, this is all just pipe dream stuff. It might not even work out logically, but like it would be really cool if we could at least like once a year, get everyone together. Obviously it's very difficult in person, but like if we get everyone together on some sort of like I don't know, some sort of get together for us USC card content creators and just do an annual event, I think would be a really cool thing to do. And obviously
That's a good idea.
we could talk about that off air, but yeah, no, that's something that I have thought of before and I think would be really, really cool. At
Yeah,
least not for the viewers, it would be fun for us guys. So yeah,
exactly.
we'll have to see what we can sort out for that. But yeah, no, as I said, Joe, thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate this and yeah, happy to get this done.
Yeah, glad we can make it happen, man.
Thanks,
All
Joe. Appreciate it.
right, cheers, man.
Bye, everyone.